Hello and welcome to another video from EasyGeek TV. In this video, we'll briefly introduce you to the Linux command line or the terminal, or otherwise known as shell as well. Now, using the terminal might be a frightening idea for a lot of beginners, but it doesn't have to be like that. A lot of people hate it, don't want to use it, and so on and so forth. But you'll be surprised that it actually, in some cases, it is the only best way to deal with the system, like when troubleshooting and so on and so forth. For example, it is a very powerful tool that gives you direct access to the system core, the Linux core, and you can do a lot of settings through the command line. It is actually universal to all Linux distros. So if you move away from, let's say, Linux Mint, Mate, or Linux Ubuntu, or other Debian-based systems, to, let's say, to Fedora, which is a Red Hat-based system, in essence, the terminal is exactly the same, with very few small changes on when it comes to, let's say, updating the system and so on and so forth. And in case of system admins, which of course you are now on, but just to let you know what you can do with it, is that it's actually the only best way to control the web server, because servers have to be built in such a way they don't have a GUI, a graphical user interface, to save on system resources, and in fact to work much faster than the normal end user desktop or computer or laptop or any of that. And in fact, the terminal could be very, very helpful. Like in most cases, essentially, when there's problems with the systems, with your operating system, it actually might be the only available way to fix the system issues, believe it or not. So another good example of the terminal use would be when dealing with system updates, as we'll see in this video. That's why I've kept this available updates still here untouched, because I'm going to give it a brief, like sort of a demonstration. Now, this video is not dedicated to the terminal in the sense that we're going to delve into it. No, on the contrary, this is sort of like a surface, a general overview, very, very few things, so to get you past the scare step. And we might make use of this during the upcoming tutorials, especially when it comes to system updates, and you'll see what I mean later on in the videos. And actually, although it is a very powerful tool, as you can see from the last line I've typed in here, it might be fun for some people to learn if it's done carefully. And why I say carefully is that sometimes you find ready-made, sort of speaking, command line, tips online that you don't want to type or copy paste into the system in the terminal, because some of them are harmful by nature. Yeah, I know there are some nasty people in I wouldn't say in the Linux community, but there's some sort of toxicity regarding to that, and it's actually a known problem, and I'm not gonna debate that fact. Never mind. So let's see a couple of practical steps, because this series of videos is actually dedicated to that. We want to do practical settings and stuff. We are not going to delve into this, so I don't want to bother you, but I'm going to mention a couple of things if you want to do more with this. So let me introduce you to a couple of online resources. One of them is the community on linuxmint.com, and you got here what is like a cheat sheet, what we call them, a cheat sheet. You got a few commands here mentioned, as you can see. Some of them might come handy to you. This will be linked into the Substack article, which you can find later, all of them links. Now, another resource is the Ubuntu online documentation platform. I found this very helpful. And keep in mind that Linux Mint, most of them, like Linux Mint distros, are based on the Ubuntu distro, so it's actually very similar, like essentially no change except the distro name, right? So another resource which I find very, very helpful is the book created by William Schatz. I found this a very helpful book if you want to go the reading route, sort of speaking, and you can actually download a copy of it. So William has done a great job. it's worth having this book if you intend to seriously teach yourself about the Linux command line. Strongly can recommend to download this if you're going to do that route. And again, you don't have to use the command line, but you'll find out that it's actually very, very helpful. I'm going to download this in a bit. You'll find the link in the Substack article. Just actually download that. I'm going to load into the downloads folder on my Linux Mint. So that out of the way. You can find this on the archive.org as well, but I think this is an older edition, yeah, as opposed to the William Schultz, the Linux command.org book, which is the latest version. It's the 7th internet edition. A very, very handy resource. I strongly recommend you downloading that. And if you feel a bit fancy, sort of speaking, and you want to go deeper, I found this tutorial very, very helpful for beginners. And it's interesting because it's actually the recording for this tutorial you can find on this channel with the title The Linux Command Line Entire Tutorial Series. It's actually recorded using a Linux Mint distro, which is very, very kind of to make you feel home, sort of speaking, right? So, but keep in mind that this is a very long tutorial, so you might want to dedicate a lot of time to that. Although, in all fairness, it's actually worth doing it if you intend to seriously use Linux Mint, especially the terminal. So, with that out of the way, now let's go back to... Now, as you can see, the terminal, you can open it from here. Just click on the dark, small little icon in here, and it's going to open up. So, you can close that there. Another way to close this is to press Control, keep it Control key on your keyboard, the corner on your left, the corner key, and Control D, sort of speaking, the combo, and we'll close the window. You can open it from here, as shown. You can close it from here as well. Another way to find it out, if you for some reason cannot find it here, it's been removed, which is almost impossible, but you just type terminal in here and you will find it out. So, okay, that's how you open it. Now, as I say, I've kept them updates in here. I've not gone through and updated the system because I want to demonstrate something here which comes down to our purposes. For example, I see there are plenty of updates here. So what I'm going to go through, I'm going to uncheck everything else here. I'm going to leave only the Linux kernel update available here to do it through the graphical user interface. And this actually is to show you as well that when it comes to Linux, you are not forced to do updates. You can select them, yeah? Although not recommended, right? So you do want to keep your system up to date, but I'm just demonstrating in here. So what you could do potentially. So let's go through that. Actually, I will just leave I consider sudo systemd as the main system update. Right, I'm just going to remove some of what I consider not as critical at this point, Vim and so on. So through this graphical user interface, it lets us, select as to what we want to update if we wish to. Now, if you use the terminal, and let's say you want to use sudo apt, which is the package manager, update, and if you press enter, it will ask you for the password. Give it your password, and it will check through the repository, and it's actually telling us that it's got 94 packages available to be upgraded. Now you can do that. Let's see. You can right click and select copy, and again here right click, paste, and now we can just press enter. It will show us all the available updates. Essentially exactly what we see through the graphical user interface. So now when it comes to the Linux terminal, by the way, if you type clear here, it will push this the lines of text here upwards, so sort of cleaning your user space. Another way to do that, and I can show you what I mean. I can roll up with a mouse. Right. So another way to clear it, let's say upgradable. By the way, I just push the up arrow key on your keyboard, and you can walk through the latest commands and like earlier commands you typed into the system. It's very handy actually, right? So let's do that again, just for the sake of it. Now you can press Control L to clear the list instead of typing clear into that. So I'm going to try that now. As you can see, it clears off. Now if I decide to upgrade the system via the terminal, this I would do sudo upgrade. And since I've typed some of the words here, I can just press the tab key, the two opposing arrows in your keyboard, on the left side, and it will fill in the rest of the command, which is very, very handy. So now press enter. Now it's telling me if I want to go ahead. Just so you know, if you just press enter now, Y, standing for yes, is the pre-selected in this case. So if I just press enter, it will update the system, but I don't want to do that right now because I intend to show you the graphical user interface, especially to upgrade the kernel in this instance. And as opposed to the graphical user interface, which lets you sort of select which updates you want to go through, the terminal way of doing upgrades does not let you do that. It goes through all the available updates and will do that for you. This is, in some cases, or should I say in most cases, must be the perfect solution. But sometimes you don't want to do that. So just for the purpose of showing it, I will just select no, and for now, and it will not do any updates. As you can see, it says abort. And I will clear the space again, clear it. I'll go through the graphical user interface. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the kernel since I've unchecked the rest of them. So then I can do the rest of the upgrades through the command line interface, through the terminal. So type in your password in your case. Right, so as you can see, if I click here, it shows through what exactly is happening, what is being upgraded as we go now. You can roll through with your mouse. Essentially, this is the graphical user interface. You just the point and click, like point your mouse and click. Very simple, yeah? So let's wait for this to go ahead. And actually, since this right, so this is making changes. It's upgrading the system core, the Linux kernel. And to demonstrate, if I now select here to sort of upgrade, it will now let me do that. See that? That's on purpose. The system is locked on using the graphical user interface to do the upgrades. It will not let you do that. Now, to cancel the upgrade via the terminal, I can just press Control C. And as you can see, I'm just going to Control L for clearing it. And as you can see, cleared. Now that the graphical user interface is done upgrading the selected upgrades, especially the kernel, you can see that I've still got the rest of the unchecked upgrades here. Now I'm going to close the graphical user interface. And by the way, once you're done with this, and once we do the system upgrade through the terminal, it is highly recommended that you restart the system for the changes to take place. So with that out of the way, now I'm going to do the upgrade through the terminal. So let's go again. Let's say we open the computer just right now. Let's say sudo update to search for available updates. It will show us as previously. Now, number of packages. And if I press the up arrow key, I can go all the way through the commands I've typed, right? Very, very handy. So now I'm going to select sudo upgrade. And I'm just pressing enter here because the yes is pre-selected. So press enter. let it do its own job. This might take a short while. Depending on your broadband speed and so on and so forth. So you don't have to do this through the terminal, but it's highly recommended to get yourself, get yourself a bit, sort of speaking, in the terminal usage, or at least to get you to move out of the scare phase of using the terminal, if you wish. So we don't want to delve into it, as mentioned in the beginning of this video. And actually think of it this way: it is very, very helpful. So let's say you got a few things, like in this example, you got some updates to do, or maybe troubleshooting system errors. Like if you are in a, these upgraded, right? Updates are done, control clear. So let's say you got a problem with your system, right? If you go into the Linux community, whatever it might be, the Linux Mint community, the Ubuntu community, or any other distros, and if you've got, say, a problem with your internet connection, and you go into the community, in the forums actually, they will ask you they'll ask you to type a few commands into the terminal and copy paste the output from the terminal to the forum for them to be helpful to help you. And without the terminal, you might find that a lot of people in these forums are not eager to help you, which is meh. I mean, but you do want to get past the scare phase of using the terminal. Now I'm going to restart the system now. I'm going to close everything. We don't need to save that. So again, Control C. Actually, you can do the restart via the command line interface. Let's do that from here. Reboot. And again, make sure that you have closed everything. You've saved anything you were working on, so you don't get to lose stuff. And just reboot it. As you can see, system is rebooting. Very handy, right? You don't have to click through with the mouse and so on and so forth. But be careful. So let's wait for it to load again. So in essence, if you could help yourself, save some time to yourself, and help others help you via the output that the system is giving you, why not doing it? Like, why not go that route? Yeah. And we are back. So let's fire up the terminal again, because I want to demonstrate a few things to close this video. Now let's go through the last typed commands by hitting the up arrow key. Let's say we want to ask the system if it's got any updates available. Type in your password. And all packages are up to date. Cool. Now, let's say after many updates, you want to clear the system. The best way to do it, because there are some remnants, if you can say so, let's do something really interesting. Let's say sudo apt clean. This gets rid of the remnants from libraries that programs used to work with. It's done that. Another very helpful command, I'm just mentioning them for you to be aware, you don't have to use this, although would be very handy, is to sudo apt auto remove. And as you can see here, if I type enter, there's nothing to remove. In some instances, as you'll see through your Linux journey, if I can say so, you'll see that there will be remnants, sort of like old Linux kernels that have been used are not necessary anymore. You can do that through the package manager as well, but the terminal way is so fast. Like you can just type in the commands, it clears off, and it's actually emptying some disk space in your system, which is very, very useful, right? So that is for this tutorial, I guess. Hopefully this will not scare you away. Actually, it'll be very helpful to you. And I'm going to repeat something about this sudo apt remove. If you do that, and it finds remnants of the Linux kernels, for example, it will ask you to type yes to sort of to pre-select the yes. You could do that option. You can just do Y. This gives the system the right to remove all kernels without asking you for verification and so on. It's not risky. It's actually very handy. You can just type sudo apt auto remove -y, and that should do it. So hopefully this short tutorial was helpful to you. If so, do consider to subscribe or like the video, and see you in another video. Thanks for following and for watching. Bye for now.